Our next topic, of course, the World Juniors, and it was a very struggling time, we'll call it, for Team Canada, the second youngest team going into the tournament. I personally didn't think they were that bad, but it clearly showed their inexperience, and they could have used a guy like Max Domi. They could have used a guy, like you said, Darnell Nurse. We talked about this just before we came up on air. There was a lot of veterans on that team, or could have been on that team, that were left off. Guys, what do you think of Team Canada, Brett Sutter, and the decision-making process in terms of his roster that he picked?
I do not like the way that they had this. They had tryouts. I mean, Darnell Nurse not even invited. That's ridiculous. When you watch the team, Dumba was backing up all the time. He was always in his own end. He was always coughing up the puck. I mean, where's a guy like Darnell Nurse who's physical and can bring that presence when you need it, and can score as well? So for me, it was just, you know, I watched on Cherry say Hockey Canada's kind of got to get their head out of their ass sort of thing, right, on Saturday night. I don't know if it's necessarily that bad, but I would say that this doesn't happen again. I would say from now on you have a big, a big training camp, and you invite guys like you used to do, and you take the best players possible. You don't worry about young guys. You don't worry about this. You don't worry about. You take the best players possible.
Yeah, no, they tried it. They did this experiment, so obviously the experiment didn't work. It's when we don't win at either the Olympics, or if we don't win at the World Juniors, those are the two big tournaments for us now, that we always look at, is there something wrong with the game in Canada? And really there isn't. In the big scheme of things, the selections probably, you're going to be questioned for the selections in the Olympic team, you're going to be questioned on the selections on the Canadian junior team. You're always going to be questioned because there's such a pool of talent in this country. But is there something wrong with the game in Canada? No, there isn't. I think more than anything, what we have to look in the grassroots is maybe the skill set has to improve, and maybe we're coaching too much at the minor hockey level. Maybe we're talking about too much X's and O's, and we're not talking more about the passing, the shooting, and just basically skating.
Maybe is it just the fact that other countries have caught up? Canada's no longer dominant when it comes to international hockey, much like the Soviet Union, Russia. It was between those two. Now you're seeing the Swedes with the powerhouse they have. They've been to they've won one of their last 3 gold medals they've been to.
But the thing that impressed me on the weekend is of all the teams, Finland. Finland played a great defensive game. The Finns played like Canada, and honestly, that's their role model was Canada, and they modeled their team after Canadians. And they did a great job.
Their coaches, okay, I think that was Sweden. I'm on a different topic. But let's get to a different topic here, the NFL playoffs, so the gridiron. 3 out of the 4 teams that won were road teams. You almost saw that with the Kansas City Chiefs with a 28-point lead. They lost it. But however, you had San Francisco, New Orleans, and San Diego, all either a 5 or 6 seed, make it. Is home field advantage still important in the NFL today?
You know what? I'll check myself out because I can't stand watching NFL football. I find it boring.
You know what? Even so, you have to tell me. Like, say, for example, even if we put it to the CFL, because I know
is home field advantage still?
Is home field advantage?
We just won the Grey Cup in Regina.
Okay.
Of course, it's important.
But knowing here, you have 3 out of the 4. Is it just the fact that you have a lot of great teams that make it to the playoffs in their system?
The better team is always going to win, no matter where the game is played.
Yeah, and I think first round in the NFL playoffs is a little bit unique. And I think it's a very level playing field, more so than the next round. Because the next round you have teams that have been sitting for a week, and they guarantee themselves a home spot because they played so well. But I think the first round of the NFL playoffs, saying whether it's home field advantage, not home field advantage, it's first round is always kind of a coin flip who's going to win it.
Oh, how can you watch it? It's so boring.
You know what?
I find NFL so dull. It's almost as bad as NHL hockey.
No, you know what?
Right
you
now.
Tell that to the millions and millions of fans that watch it. Right?
They'd like the Colts Chiefs.
Yeah, but Americans like baseball. Like, you can't judge anything by that.
You know what?
Baseball.
Tomato, Kurt. Let's just go on. Let's move on. I think you've had enough. Holy smokes! Just
Americans like boring sports. They do. They prefer their sports boring.
All right. Well,
they like it slow.
Well, you know what?
Why do you think they don't like hockey? Because they can't keep up.
I will get to hockey. How about that? We'll get to the next topic, and it's the best players the first half of the NHL season. Can you tell me who's your best forward, best defenseman, and best goalie?
You better start, Greg.
You know what? Oh, I know what you're going to pick. Best forward right now, and the great story, Steen in St. Louis. Just a tremendous story. I know he's been kind of in the lineup here lately with injuries, but what a great story that is. Here's a guy that was kind of tossed aside by a few teams and found a home in St. Louis, and I don't know.
How are the Leafs feeling about that?
You don't think the Leafs could use him right now?
They could.
Yeah. Sidney Crosby's been just unbelievable. For me, it's Sidney Crosby. And
But you expect that out of Sidney.
Yeah, I expect it, but he has been.
But you don't expect that out of Steen.
No, you don't. And will Steen be a one-year wonder?
That could be.
That's what I keep asking myself, is this 1 year that he's going to do this? So
What a great
goaltending, Carey Price. No doubt about it, Carey Price. And I love Shea Weber. I know you said I was going to say PK Subban, but I am such a Shea Weber fan. I mean, Shea Weber could go on any team right now. And like if he was in Edmonton's team, they'd be in the playoffs.
They need a back end. Your defenseman and goalie?
Defenseman, I say Duncan Keith. I just love the way he plays. I love Chicago, watching him play. They're a heck of a team. And Carey Price.
Jonathan Taves has been fun to watch this year, too.
I would remark Taves as being
He's
one of
been
those
really
guys.
fun
Him
to
and
watch.
Kane have been
Yeah.
fantastic together. I think they, in terms of forwards, they would be
Yeah.
co-favorites. Defensemen, you can't go wrong with Shea Weber, but I'll have to agree with Bucky. Duncan Keith has been a solid guy. And I'm going to have to go outside the box and say it was that Marty Jones kid out of L.A.
Yeah.
I think he's been a real surprise.
You
and
guys sure like your flash in the pan guys. Eh?
I'm saying, you know what, first half of the season, we're looking at 2013, not overall. First
Yeah.
half of the 2013-14 season, you got to give it to LA's goalie situation and Jones.
And I bet you he gets sent down to the minors before you know it.
Yeah, but you know what? How many offers and bids are they going to get for trade offers they're going to get for that kid?
Oh, exactly.
So there you go. And he just recently got sent down. So there you go. All right,
You got
guys.
sent down already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Flash
right.
in the pan.
All right. So, well, you're going to prove if you're not going to be a flash in the pan in our next segment because we have over-under coming up next.